Good morrow, Ashers! Welcome back to another video and an opinion piece once again. I'm going to be making more of these, especially around the PvP subject, because it's a subject very dear to my heart, as I've said before. Yeah, we're pretty much going to look at why I think that standardized PvP is important for instanced PvP in Ashes of Creation. The major concern here is that I'm going to give you an example and actually go and show you what a good standardized PvP looks like, and then tell you why I think it's a good idea. Right, let's jump straight into it, shall we? So what do I mean by instanced PvP being standardized? The game itself that I'm currently logged into right now is Guild Wars 2. This is a game that has a lot of flaws and a lot of things I don't like about it. But the one thing I do like is that PvP is completely standardized. You can jump in on a level 2 or whatever level character and be on equal footing as everyone else, as long as it's what they call SPvP or structured PvP. I'm going to call it standard PvP for the rest of this video though. Anyway, that being said, you can see here I am currently on a character that is level 2. Right, as you can see there, I have very limited gear available to me. It is literally level, actually I have no idea, this seems to be completely starting level gear. And I have very little stats available. I am level 2 and I have almost no weapons or abilities unlocked at the moment. You can clearly see that these things will unlock on the various levels as I play through the game. This slot will unlock on level 19, this slot will unlock on level 8, etc, etc, etc. So I can't actually use skills. If I go back to my character menu, even the choices in gear, or rather traits, which customizes your character build in some way, are completely locked out. I have to wait till level 21 before I get that slot, level 45 for that one, and level 71 for that one. So I have very limited options available to myself right now. I can kill some things at this level and it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to swap to the PvP lobby. So I click right there at the top where it says PvP, click enter PvP lobbying, have a forever loading screen, because even though this game is on an SSD, it takes forever to load. But let's give it a moment. Come on, 3, 2, 1, and load it. Load it? Load it. Load it. Please load. Game. I am now in the PvP lobby, where all PvP gear applies, or PvP rules apply. You can already see I've unlocked some additional skills, and I actually can go and select some skills to use that are not available to me in the PvE area. Tunk, 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 and now I have some extra skills available. I can even go to my PvP tab, or rather my PvP equipment tab, not there, and you can see that I actually have fewer skills, what can I call them? Gear options available. There's no, for example, armor pieces or anything like that. The only thing that I have is an option of a amulet, some upgrades, and some weapons. Plus, you can see my stats are now effectively level 80. See, effective level 80. Now, by selecting this Carrion amulet, which gives me an X amount of stats in different areas, I can actually go and change the stats that I have available on this character when playing PvP. Right now I have equipped 900 power, 900 vitality, and 1000 condition damage, but I can change this at the flick of a switch by just clicking another amulet. Let's say, for argument's sake, Mender's Amulet. Mender's Amulet provides me with power, precision, vitality, and healing power, which completely changes how my character functions. So, you will see my stats change as well, and I can also do upgrades via runes, which give unique effects like so. Just select that and now it has been applied. The same goes for weapons. You'll see I have 2 weapons equipped plus their upgrades. I'm going to select, let's for argument's sake say that one. I've now applied my different weapons with their upgrades. Going to the marketplace, I can buy a cheap, any quality weapon to apply an additional weapon and skill set. So let's go with staff. Where is the staff? Staff. I go to my PvP tab, click on where I don't have a weapon input, insert my staff, and you'll see that I have now fully unlocked all the staff skills. So the basic idea here is that the weapons and sigils and gear build in general is all standardized to a fixed level just because I have dropped into a PvP arena. I can now go and start a game and fight anyone else in the game irrelevant of what my level is or what gear I have. This is what I recommend for Ashes of Creation's instanced PvP. So why do I recommend this be a thing within the game? I am not saying by any means that this system should be in place in all formats of PvP. I am mostly referring to what Ashes of Creation is calling arenas, which are separated maps from the rest of the actual world, the way you can fight other players, whether they be deathmatch modes or objective based or whatever the case may be. I want the arenas to specifically be able to allow anyone at any level to jump in and fight at the same tier as everyone else in terms of stats availability, choices in build quality, and costing to change your build. Now, why is this the thing? The most obvious one being esports and streaming ability. Basically, this creates a community of PvPers that is able to test things without needing to invest heavily in a build. That kind of alleviates the problem with what you find most MMOs have in terms of PvP, where it's a heavy meta game. Because now people will just go and search up a build which they know works and just uses that build as a standard, because it's hard to invest gear and stuff into creating a build. There's very little interaction in terms of testing and changes going on for builds. And by doing this, the meta game becomes more interesting, more diverse, and just generally more, how can I put this, really fun, because I can go and try something new. What the most important thing for me is in this case is that it encourages that to an extreme extent. PvP is a weird beast. PvP doesn't allow most people to enjoy it. It's going to be the most dedicated players that join it and actually stay within that mode. And this is especially true within an MMO. By creating a system that allows anyone to jump in and try it out, we will essentially create a PvP environment that has more players, which means matchmaking is more accurate, more fun to enjoy, and more challenging, while also having a leaderboard that relies almost entirely, and I mean entirely, on skill, rather than what have I managed to grind out in the first months or weeks of play. Now, in what game modes do I want this? It is pretty much only the arenas or instanced PvP that I want this. Obviously, I don't want this happening or being a thing within any of the other PvP modes. I still want to be able to grind my gear out so that I gain an advantage over the node or guild next to me. I personally think that even if guild versus guild modes are instanced, they should still not be standardized. That's not really what I'm trying to say. Guild versus guild should actually matter in terms of gear, so that the guild has something to do and work towards while playing. But when it comes to 5v5 or 20v20 or anything along those lines that is separated from the main world, I really, really, really wish that they would allow something like this or create something like this. It is also worth mentioning that at the end of the day, this creates an environment where the stats are almost irrelevant in terms of skill. It is just theory crafting or build crafting in general, as well as skill, that matters. The devs could also use the opportunity to have it as a separate balance factor. We already know that the current balance cadence that they will be using is going to be based around larger scale fights. So I assume that this is literally going to be the 250 versus 250 large scale node or castle sieges that will be happening in the open world, where the skills and abilities will be balanced around that. Instead, by separating instanced PvP from the main balance, you could potentially have a situation where you could run the best of both worlds and 1v1s, not in the open world, or or just in the instance PvP, the builds are way more balanced. So let's say, for example, a roguelike class does too much damage out of stealth. Instead of targeting the entire game's balance for the rogue, you could literally only target it within that small 1v1 environment that you find within PvP modes. And this isn't something that the devs will need to do necessarily on day one, but I would like to see the option to do so. And by splitting the modes like this, you could potentially do that pretty easily. Guild Wars 2 took a long time before it did that, and it has been a little bit better since. Unfortunately, it has not been enough, and the PvP is still very memey, but at least the option for it is incredibly powerful in terms of balance for the devs for a later stage in the game's lifespan. That about wraps it up for my opinions in this regard. I personally think this is a really good idea. Obviously, this is literally just my personal opinion. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you like the idea of rather building up your gear and being able to stomp someone? Or would you rather see a bracketing system? So let's say somebody has a gear score or a level of 20. They will only fight with people that are level 20. And the level 30s will all be fighting together, and all the level 40s will be fighting together, etc, 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 to rather bracket up the PvP. I don't personally like this because it splits the community, putting strain on matchmaking, so quality of games are generally just going to be lower in that kind of case. But in my opinion, I think not doing that is probably the best way. We really want a good PvP mode if it is anything you care about. It's not for everyone. PvP is definitely more of a mode that only certain players enjoy. Needless to say, thank you very much for watching and listening in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously, I had footage up for a different game, so my apologies for that. But it's pretty much the game I play right now and the only PvP footage that I had available. Have an awesome one, and may Ashes be the best MMO ever created. Cheers.